Hello. I'm posting again because I got like a something from God. And what I got was this. It's like, somebody like, would post some videos before I started making any kind of videos or, posting, speaking on anything, like you got to speak your truth. And that kind of got highlighted me to today through or yesterday through an interaction. It's like you've got to speak your truth because like what is it? Truth doesn't mind being questioned, a lie does. You've got to speak your truth of who you are, of what you've been through, or other people, you know what I mean, will try and give a tainted version. Other people will try and manipulate. And it's like this. It's like, it doesn't even matter, you know what I mean? Like, what other people think, like, long as you know what I mean? Because, like I said in the last video I made, it's kind of like, each of us has to go down our own path, learn our own lessons, you know, figure out our own stuff. And there's like this old teacher I used to have, and he was like, the graveyards are full of buried treasure. And it's true because some people exist, but they never live. And I said this in another video too. It's like when I was in counseling, and it was a group counseling, it was kind of like when everyone started healing, it was kind of like, getting to know yourself for the first time. And I said that in the last video. It's like I've healed emotionally, mentally, spiritually. So it's almost like I'm living for the first time. I'm existing for the first time, you know? And it's like, you know, it's it's liberating, especially when you were brought up in an environment of like abuse, of manipulation, of almost like people wanting to be dictators. It's like, playing King of the Hill. It's like or King of the Mountain, like, one can be the most the biggest tyrant, you know what I mean? They that means they want the top position. It's like literally being in a hierarchy is the family I grew up in. But to me, it's like, and I realized where I differed from my family was like my perception of doing, of great things was really helping people, making a difference that way. Making the world around you better. Theirs is making themselves better. As far as like, building themselves up, which is nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? But that's where it's like I totally differed. Like I guess I've kind of always been more of a like a humanitarian, you know what I mean? Kind of thing. It's like, although I've never been perfect, but it's like I'd rather someone, even when I grew up in church, and for me it's like I always would have rather the fact of letting someone knowing that they were loved and valued other than in make it's indoctrinated or like them understanding a certain religion. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, like that's another reason why like I feel I, would claim myself like more spiritual than religious. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times there is sort of like a superiority. Like you go to church, it's like almost like, oh, those sinners. But you know what I mean? But it's like, not everybody is like that, but a lot of times it is. Like Jesus would have rather sat with the sinners. Like the Bible says to write the tabernacles on the heart. It's like a lot of times people, not even in just church, people in general, like people don't like to address themselves. You know, it is hard, you know what I mean? Like even for me, it's like I've healed a lot, grown a lot. Like sometimes, like that's why like I've said in other videos, it's like I like when I get triggered because it's like I can self-reflect. You know, it's hard to see something in yourself sometimes. You know what I mean? And that can be based on environment, um, just out of habit or whatever. You know, it's like we're not always right, but we're not always wrong. You know, like, but it's like, you know, if I get something from somebody, they tell me something, I'll sit on that. It's like, I was like, you know what, you're right. You know, like, you were correct in that. It's like, I feel like you always have to be teachable. You know, like, I'm the type of person, like, you know, I go into work, you know, I go to do a job. It's like I am humble enough to take instruction and, you know, respect, like, the system, the order, but confident enough um, that I'm going to come do my job, going to do it well. You know what I mean? And somebody posted a video and it's like, it's true. It's like, I've grown to a point where if I get challenged, you know, like something happens or like whatever, it's almost like I don't freak out. I don't whatever. I'm just like, I'm just going to figure it out. You know, I trust God. And that's the thing is like, God says no. I'm like, okay, cool. God says go. I'm like, all right. You know what I mean? Like I said in another video, it's like, you know, I used to like, you know, want to post and I'd like second guess. And it's almost like in the very beginning when I started posting a lot on social media, it was kind of like I just started with like videos and pictures. But I was like in a headspace where I just was still processing myself and still healing. You know what I mean? And still learning the concept of my value. You know what I mean? And what that meant. And then it was like, you know, and because I grew up in a family where it's like, it wasn't really allowed, you know, like, oh, you just think I'm like, so it's like almost like, and so now it's like, I'm at the place where it's like, don't really post video pictures as much like that now. I'm sure I will, you know, um, we'd say hermit mode. Because I think, you know, like the whole in the Bible, it talks about there's a time to rest, a time to go, a time to play, a time to sing, a time to dance. You know what I mean? And I've come to this conclusion. It's like I trust God, you know, because it's like that's why the Bible says obedience is better than sacrifice. It's like something will happen and it's like if we get, you know, you allow yourself to be frustrated or just be like, "Oh." It's like you might miss the point, you know, of something. Or, you know what I mean? God's ways are higher than our ways, thoughts higher than ours, you know. I heard someone say, and several people, it's like, you know, if someone, like, say someone cheats on you, that's a, it's like, I need to know why. Or if someone does something, you need to know why. If you knew why someone did something, it wouldn't make you feel better, you know? And it's like, you know, that's why we gotta trust God because it's like I trust God and it's like I find that it's like I just did this because he told me and I did this because he told me and this because and it's like, you know, you don't even know what he was doing because it's like his ways are higher than our ways, thoughts higher than ours. That's why the Bible says vengeance is thine, saith the Lord. You know, because the Bible says cast your cares before the Lord. It's so true. Because it's like if you react and try to address everything in you do it in haste. You do it out of emotions, you do it out of reaction, or you might just handle it in the way like how I always handled it. But like for me it's like I trust God because it's like, you know, that's why the Bible says that first shall be last, last shall be first, the meek shall inherit the earth, and the Bible says that pride cometh before the fall because as humans, you know what I mean, like we love to take it upon ourselves to just, you know, we feel like we need to address this. We feel like we need to, like, you know, this or that. And it's like, if we do that, it's like we're like missing the point. you know? And so I've gotten to a place, and, it's like, God, it's like almost automatic. It is automatic. And it's like, just to have that confirmation, that realization. Because it's like sometimes if God tells you don't go, sometimes you needed to rest. Sometimes He was redirecting you in a way that was needed, you know? For yea, though I walk through the valley of a shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod, God leading you, and thy rod, God correcting you, thy staff, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Thy rod and thy staff. Basically, God will correct you, God will guide you. Confirmation. But it's like, and God is no respecter of persons. The Bible says many are called, few are chosen. And it's like this, it's like, if you don't ever decide to, like, come out of your comfort zone, it's like, God may have, like, a bunch of things He wants you to do, and a bunch of ways He wants to utilize you, and it's like, you just get lost in translation, I said this in another video, it's like, that's why you can't allow your anger to control you, because something may happen and it might be justifiable for you to get angry, but it's like if you allow yourself to handle it out of anger, emotions, they might not have been right what they did, but it's like you weren't right with what you did either. The way you reacted, you'll be held accountable for that, And so, and that's why, like, in situations, I always ask God, did I overreact and whatever? It's like, I always ask Him, guard my heart, bridle my tongue. You know what I mean? The Bible says, be angry and sin not. So it's like, if I start getting, I'm like, I need to sit out for a little bit. But I just had that, it's like, speak your truth. Like, if you feel called a certain way, go for that. Because sometimes people are well-intended or not. They'll be like, well, no, you shouldn't do that. Or, like, or that, like, out of jealousy or whatever, like, people are human, though. You have to remember that. Everybody in the world is just a human. So that's why, like, I always pray for people, because, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, principalities and powers and rulers of the darkness. And even God said, pray for those who spitefully use you. And Jesus said, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. Because, like I said in other videos, everybody has, like, a great ability for great destruction or greatness. Like, a lot of times us as people, we can be our biggest problem. That's why I said it's like, each person, we all have to learn our own lessons. Whenever you stand before God, He's going to hold you accountable, not anyone else. You can't be like, well, they told me, or they, like, it's a you thing, That's why the Bible said, come out from among them and be ye separate, because even if a person is going the right way, but you're not going the way you're supposed to, you're not going to be going anywhere. You're not going to grow. It's not going to be what you need, But I wish you well, and I hope you find peace and clarity in whatever you're going through.